yellow. Kenny Irwin has spun down in turn number 4, necessitating our first yellow flag of the afternoon. It comes out on lap number 30. Irwin trying to get the car off the curb and point it in the right direction, and other cars having to move high on the racetrack to avoid hitting him.
Unfortunately, he went a lap down. Dave Martin got his lap back.
Kenny, of course, has recorded 3 straight top 10 finishes in '99. He finished 10th at Dover, 10th at New Hampshire, and 5th at Richmond. It is the first to go a lap down here at Martinsville, and although Marcus did lose a lap, he got it back when the caution came out. Take a look at some replays here. We'll go on board with Tony Stewart. Looks like he was right behind Kenny.
This is the Home Depot onboard camera. Tony goes down in the corner. And right there, a little bump from Tony Stewart. Ooh, wow, almost in contact with Jimmy Spencer. And we'll see what. And listen to Kenny Irwin.
Doesn't take much in the corner just to send him on around.
Here's a look at why we are about to end our first caution. Watch Stewart and Irwin.
There we see just that little bit of bump, and watch as Kenny Irwin goes around, and it's amazing, only one car involved. There's all the other cars taking that evasive action. Back to green flag racing.
Tony Stewart continues to move his way up through the field. He is about to take the 26th spot from Brett Bodine.
On NASCAR Today, he talks about following Dale Earnhardt through the field. Right now, Earnhardt is up in 22nd, and as you said, Stewart is now in 26th.
Just ahead, Jimmy Spencer.
He's in the pits because they have one pit road here. His Goodrich crew.
Whoops.
Kenny Irwin says, I seem like I remember that from the last time someone got behind him.
Kenny Irwin, of course, will not be in the 28 car for for the year 2000. The quarters are very, very tight at Martinsville, needless to say. Stewart continuing to march toward the front of the field. He's up to 20th. Started 37th from his onboard camera. Up ahead is Jeremy Mayfield and Sterling Marlin and his teammate Bobby Labonte.
You see Bobby Hamilton up there trying to go on the outside of the 18 of Bobby Labonte, take away a spot.
Oh, Mayfield got a little rough into the corner. That allows Stewart to pull up alongside of him.
This is the NAPA on board of Bobby Hamilton. As he looks back at this group, there's Hamilton, right behind Sterling Marlin, and the 18 of Bobby Labonte.
Has a good stop, and his good day continues.
15.3-second pit stop, but it comes just as Kenny Irwin spins down in turn 4. No caution yet.
Yes, sir. Yes, there is caution. Boy, what a huge break for a lot of drivers who had not pitted, and a bad break for those who had.
Kenny Irwin gets the car right in the Texaco Howland car, off and running. I don't imagine too happy with Tony Stewart right now, because that once again was contact between he and Stewart that caused the spin.
And those two have been friends since they were youngsters, having run quarter midgets and just about everything else in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana area. Here it is once again. Remember, our first caution was brought out by a bump between these two, and the second one is going to be for the same reason.
Well, now there are 14 cars on the lead lap. As we watch it again, there the 28 car slides out in front of the 20 car, and he just gives him a little bit of a tap, and around he goes.
Under caution for the second time this afternoon, and once again it involves a spin. Lots of bumping and banging going on as per usual here at the half-mile Martinsville Speedway.
Cody
Tony Stewart pitted under the caution. He took on 4 tires. They made a wedge adjustment in the left rear. They also took a piece of tape off of the front air dam, the grill area.
And we have another spin.
And we probably going to have a caution flag, and that's going to let a bunch of cars get a lap back. Can Jeff Burton beat him back? Yes, he did by just about a yard. Oh, and Tony Stewart's going to coast right back in front of the guys.
Stewart's car's pretty tore up there on the left rear. He and Brett Bodine ended up against the wall. I think we can probably, if we have replays, show that the 28 car was also involved in this, not surprisingly.
And we see Tony Stewart taking his gloves off, and his helmet's next because the car will not go forward.
Tony is not happy at the moment.
No, he isn't.
Tony climbs out of the car. Brett Bodine was in the lead lap, and he too was involved in the crash. Finished outside the top 15.
Looks like he's waiting for somebody, probably the 28 car.
And there are his frustrations.
Come on, man, keep going.
Here's a replay once again as the NASCAR official comes down and tries to calm Tony down. Here is the replay.
20 car, Tony Stewart, Kenny Irwin, going down in turn 1.
Contact. Around he goes. Brett Bodine was up on the high side of the racetrack. Doesn't look like Brett hit too hard, so maybe he'll be okay.
He did make contact with the right front against the outside retaining wall. We just have to see what kind of damage might have been done.
Last time he finished outside the top 15, Tony Stewart was here in April when he finished 20th after winning his first pole position. Jerry?
Walking along beside Tony, obviously very upset, Tony, but it's been a frustrating day. The 28 car, Kenny Irwin, is that who got you?
Well, I got into him the first time. The first time was my fault, and it was an accident. I had my spotter go down and tell his spotter that it was an accident. And then he gave me a hard time getting by. The second time we got by him, and he started catching us after that. I mean, after that, we were a little slower than he was, and I moved up to let him around. He hits me off at 2, so I hit him back in 3 and 4 and spun him, so he took me out again.
How bad is your car damaged? Can you get back out?
It's tore all the pieces.
All right, upset Tony Stewart. We'll head back to the truck. Guys, 4th in the point standings. They need to get this car back on the racetrack, but right now, the most important thing is let Tony cool off a moment.
Only one DNF in 1999. He ran out of fuel at the first race at Michigan. This could be his second, although they will, of course, try to get that car back in the race. We're back at the NAPA AutoCare 500 NASCAR Winston Cup race at Martinsville Speedway in Virginia under caution because of an incident involving Tony Stewart. His Home Depot Pontiac took the major brunt of the incident that involved Brett Bodine and also the 28 car of Kenny Irwin. Now there is history. Tony Stewart and Kenny Irwin have been friends since childhood, but early in the race, Tony gave Kenny a little bit of a bump, and Tony admitted that was his fault, and it was an accident. Later in the race, there was another run-in between the two that sent Kenny Irwin spinning for the second time, and now this incident that has put Stewart behind the wall.
Going down in turn 1, that's Irwin in the 28 car. Tony Stewart goes in, a little bump, Kenny Irwin, and around he goes, and bam, backs up in that. Brett Bodine, he's the innocent victim of the situation. And just listen to this contact down in turn 1.
Well, that has dropped Brett Bodine 6 laps down and has put Tony behind the wall. That's the onboard camera with Kenny Irwin. And this is what happened as Irwin came around and Tony took out his frustrations.
sure going to be a battle that he was going to lose because he was up against too big odds.
That's for sure.
A race car, moving race car.
Since mid-season, Tony Stewart has scored the most points in NASCAR Winston Cup competition, more than anybody else. And take a look at the glowing brakes, BP.
We see the one in the corner, we see him hit the brakes. Look at that rotor. The thing is cherry red. Must be 1,000, 1,200 degrees. We're talking about this piece right there that's gets redder and redder as he plies the brakes down in the corner. As he takes his foot off the brake pedal, we see how it cools off, but not enough to lose the red glow. Now, once again, down in the corner, incredible heat generated by these brakes here at Martinsville.
You know, a lot of racetracks, we talk about tire management, but here at Martinsville, it's brake management that the driver and the team talks about. Very important to save those brakes, and it's difficult to do. You got a 3,400-pound automobile taking into those turns at about 120 miles an hour and try to roll it down to about 60 miles an hour real quick.
And one other thing you got to be concerned about, we see how close that the rotor is to the tire. If you don't save the brakes, that rotor's going to get hotter and hotter. It's going to melt the bead area of the tire there, and you're going to go in the corner and have a right front tire go flat.
Irwin is 2 laps down in 35th position. Has had 3 incidents with Tony Stewart that has put Stewart behind the wall. Incidents here at Martinsville early on involved just 2 drivers, Kenny Irwin and Tony Stewart. They collided early. Then later on, there was another incident involving Stewart and Irwin. Kenny spinning around for the second time. And then a little bit later than that, Irwin hits Stewart, sends him into the first turn wall, and puts Tony behind the wall with Stewart, a very frustrated race driver. Down to Bill Weber.
And Bob, there was a tremendous amount of frustration throughout both Joe Gibbs racing teams. In fact, the 18 team discussed the incident on the radio, and they were very upset about it. They had a clear view of it and said that their car was intentionally taken out. And basically what they referred to was the fact that Yates is a 2-car operation. They have a guy running for the championship, and paybacks can really hurt you. Well, obviously something like that always gets back to the other team. Robert Yates sent a message to the 20 team reminding them that that is not his driver for the future, and he may not be responsible for the wheel holder in that car. Tempers really flurry down here at this short track, and we still have a long way to go.
This is Kenny Irwin we're right along with the Rebestos onboard camera as Dallenbach goes by.
When we come to Martinsville, things can always get heated as far as action on the racetrack and tempers.
Well, we see the 28 car, Kenny Irwin, back in the pits. Oh, we got something wrong there with the right front. They can't get
broken off over here. Hold up, Raymond.
something broken.
You wonder if it's one of the studs.
Okay, what we're going to do is get it put together, get it behind the wall. Now we're going to get a hub on there.
Like the hub is broken.
That thing had gotten awfully hot.
Turn around real easy and put it down here. Somebody's going to have to help him back it up. Get to the wheel there, back him up.
So they're going to put the 28 car behind the wall.
Come on, go ahead. Slow down.
There are currently 3 cars off the racetrack. Brett Bodine, Tony Stewart, and the 28 machine of Kenny Irwin. There you see Brett Bodine's car right behind Kenny's. Well, Brett is back there because of the accident that involved Irwin and Stewart. And a few minutes ago, Brett also took out his frustrations on Kenny. It's a typical Martinsville race, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Irwin sits back there waiting to get the hub fixed on his car. You notice, though, that Brett ran over with helmet on.
He probably put it on to go over there.
Yeah, he's probably
Smart guy.
Moments ago on the racetrack, this little incident between Jimmy Spencer and Dale Earnhardt.
Wow, a little contact. Spencer goes around and just about spun out down the front straightaway, but he got things back under control.
Earnhardt is 1 lap down. Spencer 2 laps down. Spencer running back in 27th, and Earnhardt is in the 18th position. Down to John Kernan.
You mentioned that Brett Bodine came over with his helmet on. Actually, he's been sitting in his race car while the team was working on it. After Irwin pulled in, Brett unhooked his belts, brought the window net down, got out of the car, came over, had the confrontation with Kenny. Now, the reason we have not talked with Kenny is I asked him if he would be willing to talk on camera, and he told me no, he had nothing to say right now.
Sometimes discretion is the better part of valor. And there is Tony Stewart, who had to go by both the 11 and 28 to get back out on the racetrack, as Tony Stewart is headed back onto the speedway.
And Rich Bickle is in the pits. He was running in the 17th position.
Well, you see the rundown. Skinner has a 2.3-second lead on Andretti, and he had about a 3.5-second lead not too long ago, so John Andretti is getting a little bit closer.
Jeff Gordon just took over the 6th position from Hut Strickland. There he is.